Collectively, they are a seemingly infinite army fighting to get our attention. Those symbols and signs that different organizations and companies painstakingly create as a beacon to point the way when we consumers need to buy a broom or toothpaste or any of the other countless essentials we purchase. The brand we pull off the shelves will be dictated by how well a particular brand has communicated with us. According to Grewald, Petrausch, and Dua, branding dates back to 2000 BC, as evidenced by clay tablets similar to this one, which use symbols and markings to instruct farmers how to sow their crops. Now, this seems to be a broad stretch of the definition of a brand, but the point may have been more succinctly expressed by theorist Thomas Mickey. So, branding then is nothing more than a symbol that speaks for your company or organization, even when no one is saying a word. Herskovitz and Crystal say the brand has a persona that creates a long-lasting emotional bond with the audience because it is instantly recognizable and memorable, it is something that people can relate to, and it is consistent. So why don't we test out this theory? Take a look at the following images and see how many do you recognize without hearing any information about the company or its name. Well, you can probably identify several, if not all of them. That is the power of branding, a symbol that communicates more than just the company's name. I do want to disagree with the last word, though, consistent. Certainly, in some cases, like when Coca-Cola changed its look, not to mention taste, to New Coke, the public didn't exactly welcome it with open arms.
That more people prefer the new refreshing taste of Coke over Pepsi. Sweating? It's true. More people are, as we Cokeologists say, catching the wave. Catch it if you can. Catch the wave. Coke.
But other organizations managed to change their brand or look with very little fanfare and no fallout. Walmart, for instance, has done this numerous times, and everybody just accepts it as a little makeover. Perhaps that's because Walmart's real brand is its name, which in part means bargain. So it doesn't have its identity tied completely to a symbol or a logo or any kind of color scheme. I do agree with the rest of their statement because I am a slave to brand as much as the next person. I often spot my intended purchase on the grocery aisle by looking for the familiar logo or thematic color. Blogger Alina Popescu, in her article, Thinking Backwards, PR Storytelling versus Theory-Based, sees the cusp of a new era where telling stories reigns as the real power of PR's future. Her rhetoric takes a tone that's very familiar to theorist Darina Holzhausen challenging the status quo theories of modernists. The article rejects theory-based PR techniques and quotes Dr. Catherine Sweets. I think what Dr. Sweets is saying is in direct line with Mickey's perspective that we need public relations to identify with an organization. Now, Mickey says sociodrama is the way we identify with it. Communicating by sociodrama, then PR and the narrative are simply doing what comes naturally.
Recently, I've come across several articles on husbands and wives. Chris, are you listening to me?
Yes, I'm listening, Nancy.
The narrative would prove extremely effective for two U.S. car makers whose businesses were on the road to ruin. Both companies would ride the narrative back to stability, but they use slightly different techniques.
Hey, I'm Mike Rowan. I'm here to spread the word about Ford.
Ford would utilize what Herskovitz and Crystal called persona archetypes. Ford found a spokesperson who would appeal to the ordinary average American. He would fit the persona of the rugged individualist right down to his blue jeans and baseball cap. But instead of being the rugged type who marches to the beat of his own drum, as defined by the authors, I saw more of a hybrid to another type the authors identified, the champion type, who beats the odds, which is exactly what Ford was doing. Ford also used customers who would testify why they brought a Ford.
Possible.
Fully boxed frame, Mike.
Fully boxed frame.
Ford used people who pretty much represented a cross-section of America, black, white, male, female. The story basically that Ford is telling is the story of us.
What does a town that's been to hell and back know about the finer things in life?
Chrysler also utilized the narrative, but in a much more dramatic fashion, unveiling its comeback during Super Bowl 45 with a narrative that was simply poetic.
This isn't New York City, or the Windy City, or Sin City, and we're certainly no one's Emerald City.
Now, this was a compilation of all the anxiety, fears, and hardships of not only Detroit, but all of America. What this narrative left us with was a resurgence of pride in America and American-made times in your own life. Now, it sounds at this point like storytelling can do no wrong. Well, certainly it can. We can get too wrapped up in the idea of telling the story and compromise ethical behavior. Propaganda is one result of a narrative that has derailed the tracks of ethics. Propaganda is a word we usually think of in terms of government or political entities. Andrew Yarrow says that the term can include the previously mentioned as well as advertising. Now, Yarrow defined propaganda as persuasive communication intended to appeal to a target audience's latent beliefs, or, with more difficulty, to change their beliefs and actions. Well, the narrative is just like any other form of communication. It can be used to lie or deceive or distort. Another insidious aspect of storytelling is exploitation. We can get so caught up in the idea of telling a good story that we don't consider just maybe we're telling the story that really isn't ours to tell. An example? A Pantene commercial that is by definition what sociologist Hugh Duncan calls having the 5 dramatic elements of act, scene, actors, means, and purpose.
เป็นเป็ดแล้วจะบิน เป็นคนหูหนวกแล้วจะเล่นไวโอลิน เธอจะบ้าเหรอ
It is the apex of sociodrama, compelling story that pits a champion against an unfortunate and unrelenting foe. It's a story that should be told, but is Pantene exploiting her just to sell shampoo? Sweets and others say that narratives and storytelling are a new frontier for PR and its future. Well, that may be so, but it does not diminish or erase previous theories. Certainly changes in life, like the advent of social media, means a constant reshaping, redirecting, and redefining of PR and its practices as we try to keep pace with the world around us. His theory is that we all use drama day to day, and it's another avenue for PR practitioners to relate to the publics. Relate means two-way communication, which is pretty much where we started this course with Dr. James Grunick and symmetrical communication.
I think the principles, theoretical principles that scholars have developed 30, 40 years ago are only now being adopted by many practitioners. I think there is still kind of immediate preoccupation among practitioners that what their job mainly is to place news stories in the media and hope that somehow that persuades people to do what they want them to do. I've argued for many years that the role of public relations is more symmetrical. Its role is to give publics a voice in the management of organizations, and that public relations should be a management function, not just a messaging function.
While the narrative sounds like it's asymmetrical, just one side telling a story, as we saw with Chrysler, that one story can be the story of us all. That one big drama full of multitudes of individual dramas that Mickey says truly connects us all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President and CEO Chrysler Brand, Olivier Francois.